Dark Water might be one of the better directed J-horror films that I've seen so far. Not to put down other J-horror films, the direction is usually what makes it for me. This one is simply in a class above. It does a really good job. Does a really good job with the cinematography. It does a really good job building tension in an otherwise untense story, if that makes sense. There is a lot of supernatural elements. There is a genuine sense of horror pervasive throughout the entirety of the film, but whereas a lot of American films seek to exploit that throughout its runtime, constantly throwing scares at you, Dark Water saves them all until the end of the film, until the climax of the film. I should restate, and then it pulls a pretty impressive twist, I think. It's an emotional film. It is a conceptually terrifying film. Before I get into the spoilers, which I am going to spoil this film, but I'll let you know before I do. This is from director Hideo Nakata, same director behind the Ring franchise, which I've already talked about. And frankly, I do think that this one is better than the first Ring film. This one is a really, really, really well done film. This did get an American remake. I have not seen it. I think it stars Jennifer Connelly. I don't know. After Rings, I think I was done watching adaptations of Japanese horror films. This does have the same cinematographer as The Ring, as well as Pulse. We'll get to Pulse later in the month. Don't you worry about that. But this movie, it's really, really, really well done, well acted. I think the child actor that's used does a good job. You see a lot of emotion from her. The sound design of this film, I think you owe it to yourself to watch with headphones on. Of course, late at night. I know, like, some people are like, I can't watch horror movies late at night. Sam Raimi, king of horror. Evil Dead, Drag Me to Hell, producer of the Grudge remake in America. He famously cannot watch horror movies at night. I think that's hilarious, and I think that's wrong. I think that's incorrect. That is the only time you should watch a horror film, but I digress. It's not like I only watch them at night. I watch them during the day sometimes, of course, whatever. But night really does serve to amp up things. But regardless, I think this one in particular, headphones on, late at night, in the dark. If you like to get scared, this one's for you. This is the only J-horror film that legitimately made me, like, reel back, like, shocked. And it's not a jump scare. It's not like it's a boogeyman, it's a creepy thing jumping at you. It's not that. Kind of, but it's not. It is a impressively built tense moment that culminates into a fantastic scare. I love it. There is one more that I would say is a contender for my favorite J-horror film of all time later in the month. But this one is right up there with it. I keep going back and forth between the two of them. They're both really good. We'll talk about it later. We'll get there. Don't worry about that. So this is the part of the video that I'm going to talk about spoilers. So if you haven't seen Dark Water, I recommend that you do. If you're not going to, if you've already said, you know what, this movie is not going to be for me, that's fine. Stick around and hear the spoilers if you want to. Okay. So the main story is this woman is going through divorce. Her husband's a bastard. He suddenly wants custody of the child that she loves so much when he hasn't really cared about her up until now. For whatever reason, probably just to screw over her. And she she's obviously not having that. But at the same time, she's having a tough time. She doesn't have a job because she is a stay-at-home mother because the father was providing, so she's trying to get back into work. She's trying to get a house. She's trying to get an apartment for her. And Iku-chan is the daughter. That sounded so white, but you know what? Whatever. Um, and in the midst of all of this familial legal drama, there is a drip happening from the roof of her apartment, and it is getting worse and worse. And the apartment managers aren't listening to her, and she's having a hard time. And she keeps seeing this little ghost girl up there when she's trying to see it, and her daughter keeps finding this little lunchbox that isn't hers, and even though they throw it away time and time again, it keeps returning. It builds a lot of tension. It does build a lot of tension. So it culminates in they discover that this little girl at Iku-chan's elementary school went missing some years ago, and she discovers that she's been in the water tower on top of the building the whole time, dead obviously, but is now haunting the place. And in the midst of a pretty bad haunt, after this one, it's later in the film, she finds out that the little girl just wants a mom. And so to save her own daughter, because this thing has been tormenting the daughter, she stays behind with the ghost in the water tower. The scare is in the heat of all of this. She thinks she's holding Iku-chan, and she's going over to the elevator, and it's flooding with water. And she's panicking, trying to shut the door because she thinks the ghost girl's coming, and the door to her apartment opens, and across the hall, Iku-chan steps out, and she turns very slowly, turns to the girl that she thought was Iku-chan, and it is this bloated, swollen, waterlogged corpse of a little girl. And then the little girl raises her arms and goes, "Mommy!" and jumps at her. That is the moment. that threw me off. When I boil it down to a description like that, it obviously doesn't do it justice. But it is genuinely a really good scene, in my opinion. And then it flashes forward like 10 years. Iku-chan got left behind. She's been living with her dad this whole time. She's in high school. She goes back. She's drawn back to the apartment. One day she's just outside of her elementary school, and she just feels like this emotional tug back to her old apartment where she used to live with her mom, and nobody explained anything. She had like a memory loss thing, and she was only 5 years old to begin with. And she goes up to the apartment, and and it's abandoned, nobody living there. And she sees that her mother's name and hers is still on the apartment. She knocks, and her mother's there. She's still there, but she's being short with her, and she's not. She keeps asking if she could stay here with her, and the mom's not really answering, but she's offering her tea and inviting her in and XYZ. Of course, she is a ghost now. She's dead. And then the movie ends. It is, as I said, beautifully done, beautifully shot. I am a little obsessed with this film. It's a grand film. I cannot recommend it higher if I tried. Please give Dark Water a good watch. At night, headphones on, of course subtitles on because there's no English dub of this film. So I can't really say if the English dub would be good or not. Just please